All right, Joseph, it's time to wrap it up. We got to get back in there, but I want to do one more, and I think this one is so important.
Yes.
And one of the mistakes new communicators make is avoiding emotion or storytelling. They just shoot the facts straight down, right? I'm like, I got a Loctite logical argument, but you never moved me in that message. And so how has this transformed your speaking ability, leaning into storytelling and using emotion?
One way it has transformed my communication is by making the message come to life. What's better, just sharing the facts or sharing the story that represent the facts? The story is going to bring it to life. It's going to bring the reality to it. It's going to paint a picture. It's going to put flesh around the bones. See, I would say the points are the bones, but the story is the flesh.
You need the bones.
You need
right?
bones.
You need the bones. If you didn't have bones, right, your body would just collapse on itself.
Yes.
So you need the bones.
You need the bones.
But it isn't nice looking at a whole bag of bones, right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that flesh is built in around there.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. And storytelling can allow your audience to connect with you, to make you become a human. Because not a lot of people connect well when people are just giving facts. But if you can give stories about yourself or about another situation, that audience person will say, wow, I connect really well with that story.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one caution that I would give you that I've learned the hard way, Joseph, we haven't talked about this, but he's probably learned it this way too, is don't tell a story you're in the middle of right now.
Come on.
Right?
Yes.
Man, you're trying to bring out emotion, not to break down on stage. And so it's so important to be through it before you tell it. Because what you're doing is you're putting that flesh around it. You really are building the emotion in the room, but you got to be able to keep your emotions in check.
I heard a pastor say this: if you are sharing a story that you are going through right now, you are bleeding on people.
Ooh.
That is a no-no. Because I don't want your blood. You're going through this still. But let's talk about the scar. Let's talk about what you learned from that situation.
That makes me think, and we didn't even talk about any of this, but it makes me think of when you're around somebody and they get hurt and you're like, you know what I mean? You want to help, but you don't exactly know what to do,
Yes.
right? You're like, and the tenseness that's in that moment versus someone who's went through something totally traumatic and they're on the other side and they're sharing the insight with you and the raw emotion and what happened. And that's inspiring.
Yes.
So you're in the middle of the trauma, it's scary. You're on the other side of the trauma, it can be inspiring. It can be heartfelt. It can be touching. That's a really good analogy to how sharing your story. So when you get on the other side of the story, give me some ways that you're getting prepped to deliver a story on stage. What are you thinking about when you're putting the makeup of that story? Because some people might be watching going, I'm a horrible storyteller. What are you thinking about?
Well, I think there's a formula when you storytell. And you know this. It's the
No, I don't. Teach it to me.
It's the Aristotle storytelling.
Yes, we've been talking about it.
You just were telling me this, and very helpful, by the way. But you have the exposition, where you're setting the scene.
The who, the what,
The who,
the when,
what,
and maybe the why.
when. Like, what is the incident, basically? And another thing that you could do is you could share your feelings around it. You can talk about the smell.
Yeah.
What were you seeing? What were you hearing? Now you're bringing that story to life, that incident to life. Then you have the conflict.
That's right.
What's the conflict? What's the conflict in the story? And then what's the A one more time?
So conflict results in action.
Results in action. Yes.
And action can result in more conflict. Then you find yourself in a loop.
Yeah, you find yourself in the loop. But what I've learned is to hurry up and get to the result and then the action, so that you're not just drawing out this story. Because there are some times where people can just tell a story and it's just like, okay, man, I think I get the point. I think I got it now. Sometimes stories can be told in 10 minutes, and I heard from someone that stories should at least be 2 to 3 minutes, but the professional comedians share stories in 30 seconds. Think about that.
Well, and they don't spend too much time on the setup.
Yeah.
Right? Because telling a good story is like delivering a good joke.
Right.
Like you are driving towards the punchline. And your timing is so important. But have you ever had somebody tell you a joke and they totally botched the punchline? Like they're going, and you're like, oh,
That's me all day.
Oh, oh, that wasn't funny. You know, that's because the timing in the punchline did not line up. Right.
Yes.
And so what Joseph is saying here on the story is so true. There's the exposition, there's the setup where you need to know what is the story about, who's in the story. Like you need to give me at least a ground reference to where am I at, and that allows me to experience it.
Yeah.
Then there's an inciting incident that thrusts me into conflict. All great stories have conflict. It's the basis of every movie you watch. Any movie, any show has to have conflict, has to have an inciting incident. In the major story, we would call this like, think about like Star Wars, right? Right when Star Wars opens up, Darth Vader takes over the ship. That's kind of the inciting incident, the hook. You're like, why is he here? What is going on? And you're trying to get yourself grounded of what's going on, and an action happens, and that creates another conflict, and an action, and another conflict, all the way till you get to the resolution. And if it's a movie and they want to make more money, they're going to open another conflict, right? But to what you're saying is if you spend too much time in the opening scene,
Yes.
the exposition, the setup, you're going to lose me.
Yeah.
And if you spend too much time in the resolution at the very end, I'm going to get bored because you've lost me with the draw of the conflict.
Yes.
So what we were talking about in our last discussion is you move from the resolution to the insight. Why am I even telling you this story?
Yes.
And then that's where you, going back to what you've said multiple times over together, you connect the dots.
Yes.
You connect the dots so they have an aha moment.
Yes.
So I love how that progression, like you said, 2 to 3 minutes. And you'll get better. And you go a minute. You get better. And you go 30 seconds. And then you'll be able to set it up like a good joke and drive to the punchline, which is the reason you're telling the story. And it'll connect with your audience.
And you can also practice your stories on people. Go to your family members or your friends and say, hey, can I practice a story on you? That way, I know I talked about practicing on one of the sessions, but now you're actually practicing it in front of someone before you actually get to the platform. You don't know if your stories are going to land.
That's right.
But if you can practice on someone and you can internally think, okay, how can I do this better? How can I set the incident or the setup or the resolution or the action? How can I get to that quickly? How can I do better on that? Now you are able to get better at storytelling because you're practicing on people.
You might go, how do I know if it worked? Did they laugh when they were supposed to laugh? Did they cry when they were supposed to cry? That's how you know it's going to work. It's about pace, timing, and your delivery. One thing I'd also encourage you to do if you want to grow in this area is think about 1 to 2 stories that you tell all the time. We all have them, right?
Yes.
They're the stories of a family dinner or this vacation or this mistake that I made. Think about those because you've probably told them pretty frequently, and go ahead and break down those pieces of it. How much exposition do I give? What conflict do I then interject in the story? And then how do I get to the resolution? And what are people either learning or missing when I get done? And just practice every time you tell those stories, delivering that punchline like a good joke.
Come on.
You're going to bring emotion. It's going to change your speaking forever. Well, Joseph and I are going to jump in here and get some more gold when it comes to communicating. I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, give the channel a subscribe, come on the journey with us, or at least hit that like button. That is a free way to support the channel. I'll see you tomorrow.